All right. So let's go into the IDE here. So IDE, the WebStorm has a debugger. As you can see, we haven't used it. On the top, you see this little bug up here. That's the debugger. Okay. If you try to use it before, it may or may not work because you have to do some settings. Okay. So you can debug the script itself, or you can debug the HTML file, and it will load all the script as well. Okay. So to do that, the first thing you need to do is you have to make sure you have a JetBrains IDE install as an extension to your Chrome browser or Firefox. Okay. So if you were to click this icon here, if you have it, you should have it, right? If you don't see it, maybe because the tool is not visible. So under the edit or the view, yeah, just turn on the tools. Okay, the toolbar. And this icon here is just a shortcut for the settings. So you can go here, or you can go to the file and settings, right? Either way, and you should take you there. Okay, so it may look like that. I mean, you open differently, doesn't matter. Under the Build Execution Deployment tab, if you click that, expand it, you see a debugger, deployment, and the coverage, things like that. This is what we did before. If you want to connect to your Apollo account directly, you would do that here. Just add that and then provide your FTP and stuff. The debugger, if you click that and expand that debugger, you have three options here. Notice also on the debugger you have a port number 63342. Okay, that's the default port number for WebStorm. You can change that if you want, like 63342, because if you look at this, it will say 63342 here. Okay, so that's the default port number. If you want to change it to 63333, it doesn't matter. Okay, as long as it's not being used by other ports, then you're fine. But that is the default number, and that's where the port number comes in. So right below here, the data views, you can leave that as they are. It's stepping here. Just check those two. Says do not step into scripts. Okay, so that when you put the flag, put the marker there, it will do it. You can do it manually. The live edit, it has this option as well. I'm not sure what it looks like. Yours may be different or kind of like mine. But if it does have another checkbox to enable it, make sure you enable that. I mean, well, you don't have to, but if you enable it, then you can actually, when you debug, you have a live edit. That means that whatever you type on your code will actually appear live on the browser. Okay, so without you refreshing your browser. That's for live edit. Okay. So make sure that's set. And then we want to debug your code. Because notice up here the drop down. Yours may have something, may have nothing. Okay, these are the current files or the existing files that I used before. So depending on what's selected here, if you click on debugger here, it will play or debug this file. It may not be my tractor file. I want to debug this tractor.html. So to do that, you have to either manually configure that, or easiest way is just basically, bless you, to open this file, or do a right click, and it would say debug that file here. So if you click on debug tractor.html, then it will debug this file. When I do this, you will have, if it's working as expected, you should have the debugger come window down here. You can turn that on off by clicking the debug down the bottom here. And your browser, the one that's being run, you see that it has a yellow bar. It says JetBrain's IDE support is debugging this browser. Okay, if you don't have that, it will ask you to install the JetBrains support. And just click on that link, whatever it says in your message. It will take you to, if you're using Google Chrome or Firefox, it will take you to that extension, and then just click to install into your browser. Okay, so you see that on the right side of this, my Chrome has the JetBrains IDE support here. And if you also see inside your extension under the settings here, in the extension, you see that it's being installed right here. If you don't have it, you can install it, you can just Google for it, JetBrain's IDE support for Chrome or for Firefox, and you install that and enable that. Okay. I think it only works for Chrome and Firefox, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't work for the other browsers, maybe. So once this yellow bar is being shown here, now this site is live. And let me shrink this screen here so you can see. So if I type something here in my HTML file, you will see the data being reflected here live. And just let me close this. And then let me see if I can show that here. On the home page, let's say on the top here on the body, it says Tuba Farm Equipment, right? I'll shrink this a little bit. You see Tuba Farm Equipment here. If I go and type in here, if I say Tuba Farm Equipment, if I change it to like My Farm, you see that My has been updated, right, with the My instead of Tuba, without updating the screen at all. I didn't refresh it, it just stays as is, and I can see the live data. Okay, so I can change it back to Tuba. So it's good for if you want to see live edit for this browser. If you have two screens, two monitors, it's very helpful. So now I'm in debug mode. Okay, I'm going to go back here. And if your debugger doesn't show up, just in the bottom here, you can turn that on and off. You can see it. Not only that, once you're in debug mode, you will see that if you go into the run and the edit configurations, okay, you have this window here. You have under the JavaScript debug, you have your file added to that list. Okay, so once you debug another file, it will add to this list here, so later on you can easily debug it. This is for HTML here. Okay, if you want to debug your script directly into in here, then it will be added to the Node.js menu here, so you can actually debug the script along itself without running the HTML file. Okay, so we'll do that too. So just going to show that that's how it does it. It automatically configured for you, so you don't have to manually do it yourself. If you want to do manually, you can do that too. You can go here and then click a plus sign and then go find the file. Okay, which is a little bit tedious, but easiest way just to load the file and then right click and then debug. So now I'm in debug mode still, and you can see that if you look at the browser, it will tell you you're in yellow mode. Now it applies to all your browser tabs. If you're using Chrome, every Chrome tab has it. So as you can see, it's all in that mode. Okay, it affects the entire browser. But if you cancel it, then of course you lost that live edit. If I make changes now, it doesn't affect anymore until I save it and then I refresh it, I'll see it, right? So back to normal. And so now debug is off, you canceled it. And then since now if it's selected on the drop down here already, because we configured it, you could now click on debug and it will configure, or it will debug that file. Again, if it's not, just right click and debug. Okay? And then you're back to the debug mode again. Okay, so now in your debug mode, I can do the same thing as I can with the browser. I showed you earlier, you press the F12 key. Now you cannot run both at the same time. Okay, right now we're in the debug mode for JetBrain's. If I press F12, it actually cancels out that debug because I'm using the browser debug mode. And so you can't use both at the same time. That's the only thing. So one or the other. But remember that in the browser, you can do this, and in the console, you can put your script here, right? Document, whatever it is, you see all those information here. Sometimes this is more helpful because it shows you those objects. It shows you the information inside here. For some reason, JetBrain doesn't show you that, but you have something similar here in JetBrain. So let's just go back here and debug my file again. And when you have this debug tab show on the bottom, you'll see that I have these different tabs, right? The debugger, console, that's exactly what you saw. You have the elements, just like in the browser. You see your elements here. It shows you the DOM tree as well, which is kind of neat. Okay, and you also see your scripts, the script file in here. So here's the script, right? It loads the script for you. So in the console, I could do the same thing. I could do document, and then it will list that. It just says document has something. Say I can't expand that, which is not very nice. You should be able to expand that like you see on the browser. You see the other content there. But I could do just like what I did up there. I could say t is equal to 5, and then I put t and give me the result of 5, right? Just like in the browser. So you have the console there. The debugger here, you can see you have something called frames on the left side, and then you have some variables in here, and you have something called watch on the right side. So similar, you can watch a particular variable in here in your code, especially in your JavaScript code in here. So I can go in here and watch this variables and see what it looks like. Okay, so same thing. If I want to see what acres complete is, I can go in here and type in the plus sign and just put the variable name in here. Acres complete, it's here already. Okay, then just enter. It will tell you that it's true now because I didn't put any marker here, right? So when you run it, it runs everything from top to bottom, and then those are true already. Okay, if I were to trace this code here, I can put a marker here just again by clicking right here on the line. That's just line 14. Put the click there. You see the red dot. Again, that's just the marker, right? The point. That execution will stop there at line 14, and it will pause, right? Just like we did in the browser. So now if I go back and debug again, so you have to refresh it again, and just say stop it and rerun. And you see that it should now stop at line 14. And here's the variable I'm watching. Acres complete is undefined because we haven't executed this line yet. And then now you have something similar like we saw on the browser. A little bit more extra. He has something called run to cursor. This is the cursor here. Okay, this means that if I put my cursor somewhere down here, then it's going to run all the way down to where this cursor is. Okay, instead of just line by line, it will just run everything to that line. If you want to step through really fast and put the cursor there, if I click run to cursor, it will run right to what that line is. Okay, so I just did that. But so again, let's run this again. Line 14. Okay, undefined over here for acres complete. I can do here a step over. That means it just go line by line. It would not run. It would not go into a function. If it's a function call, it would just run the function in the background, and it comes back out, and then you move to the next line. Okay. If you want to step into the function, trace the function, then it will. You press this button here, step into. It will follow the function and keep going down until it finds the function. And if you have more function internally, it will keep going until you exit out. If anytime you want to get out of that function call, you don't want to follow anymore, just go back over here. It's a step out of the function, and it will jump back out to where it was called, and then continue from there on. This is if you force step into, kind of similar to the function here. So if I go to the step over, it's going to go line by line. You see that now this is true over here, right? And just like before. Okay, so go line by line. And over here it tells you on the frames, it tells you where it is, the file name, and the line number where you're at. And the console, you can still see what's being displayed in the console. If you have any data that's output to the console, you can see it here. I don't have anything here output to the console. You don't see it, but if you were to step through, you'll see that if you have any messages, you'll see here as well. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful. And now we get more information. Once I go into this function here, you see that it has all this information about what's inside this function. Okay, and the variables here, the local variables inside this function, it's all listed here. It tells you the state, what they are for that particular function inside that block of code live. Not only that, on the right side of it, usually you will see that it will tell you the variable as well. If I go through here, okay, you see that on the right side of this line, acres box.value, it will say the value is input #acres, input acres dot box dot value. So it has those information for that information. If I move to the next line, I'll tell you that months box dot value has whatever that value is. So you can see it here live, every line, and after you pass it, it will put that information here for you as well. Okay, so it's very, very helpful to trace your code. If you want to watch it again, you just add over here. If you want to remove it, just click on it and then just click that red line here to remove it. And if you get to the loop here, you'll see that you can trace this I. If I go here and run to the cursor, okay, you can trace the I. It will tell you what I is. Right now, I is undefined right here. Really cool. And if I step through it, you see the I is now 0. To go down and to come back, I is now 1, right? So really nice. So you don't have to do, this is what we call would be in the old days, or the traditional way would be like a hand tracing, right? You put every column for every variable and you trace each line through each iteration you have to increment the value. So here it's all done automatically with a debugger. So it's really helpful just to make sure that every iteration through the loop here, all my variables are set as I expect it to be. Okay? So only that, it tells you the value of these as well, each of these iterations. So very helpful. Okay? Okay, I think I'm going to stop here for this one. So if you stop it, just make sure you turn off. Okay, it's like the play button here. To turn that off. If you don't turn that off, you're running, it's going to use a lot of resources and your system starts to slow down. So just make sure you turn that off. Okay.